Guys, welcome to my Monday morning leadership. This is Brad Krantz. Today I'm going to talk about how to develop influence. And John Maxwell's famously said, one of my favorite sayings, leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. And again, it's one of my favorite topics, and I hope to shed some light on it for you today. As Maxwell notes, everyone has some level of influence. I'll maybe touch on this a little bit, and that's why he points out that everyone is a leader. But just because you have influence doesn't mean you're a good leader. And I think he's 100% spot on with that. And I'm going to say two things about that. You can see the quote behind me here. The key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. I think there's too many people that have authority that really aren't being effective in their influence. I'm going to hit on that a bit with point one, but I just want to be clear that there is a big difference between real influence and manipulation. And here's what I'm talking about. Okay, because it's important. Again, as we said, leadership is influence, and influence is the ability to affect someone else's behavior because of your either real or perceived authority, knowledge, or relationship with that person. I say leaders empower, they build up, they inspire others, but manipulation is the power to influence someone else to your advantage, or really for your sole benefit, and it's often done without the other person's knowledge. So there's a difference there. So a couple questions to start off here. So how do you influence? And what are some of the needed skills? So the lists are many. I've chosen this one of 7, and so I'm going to talk about that. So 7 tips to develop your influencing skills. And what we're talking about here is really you got to have a combination of communication, interpersonal skills, which I call people skills, to help you get the results you need. So those are critical. You got to have communication and interpersonal skills. Those are critical. And the first one here I'm going to talk about is rapport. And this one is huge. That quote I just gave you about leadership today is about influence, not authority. I think too many people with authority don't necessarily have rapport with you. And maybe they're in a positional leader, they're your boss or manager. They really haven't taken time to develop rapport, but you have to follow them. They do have leadership because they're in a position. They're positional leaders. But here's what rapport is, guys. Here's what I'm talking about. And this is so critical. It's a close and harmonious relationship in which the people or the groups, or let's say teams that are concerned, understand each other's feelings or ideas, and they communicate well, right? There's some synergy there, right? But I think not developing rapport first is a critical mistake. And I'm going to tell you why here. You create rapport with a person that you're trying to influence, and it may sound like common sense, and common sense isn't so common, but if they like you and trust you, there's a greater possibility that you will be able to persuade them, right? You can't truly influence someone without rapport. And I'm going to get onto this a little bit further too. But on social media, we see far too many people. I see far too many people trying to make connections with me that have spent no time trying to build rapport, wanting to build rapport. They just want to kind of try to influence me. And again, I'll talk about this, buy something, invest something, or get involved in some deal. Because I think if you don't build rapport first, it's going to be almost impossible. And in my book, that's a door closer. If you don't build rapport with me, I really don't care what you want to offer me or sell me or anything else. Nothing else matters. Take some time to build rapport. Okay, it's so critical. And that delves right into number 2, which is the skill of listening. Okay, I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but listen and show that you're listening. Okay, if someone feels valued, they're more likely to be persuaded to your point of view. Okay, that should make sense. And that requires empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So I think listening and empathy go hand in hand. I think to really listen, you have to have empathy for somebody else. And again, that's the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Because otherwise, what they're saying, or if you say you're listening, it's going in one ear and out the other. But if you have empathy, you're able to understand and share the feelings of another. So I think as leadership, and this gets into 2 of the top characteristics of servant leaders, but those 2 are critical. Again, if you're going to have rapport, you got to listen, you got to have empathy for that person. Other you're just, I will call it, you're a sales schmuck trying to pitch somebody something just for, again, you're really trying to manipulate somebody, right? For your own benefits. Doesn't matter about what they want, what I want. You want to do it. So let's move on here. So listening's critical, number 2. Number 3, ask the right questions. right? Good leaders ask great questions. We've heard that before. John Maxwell's book, I think one of my favorite. And this takes us back to the last two videos I did where I talked about asking questions of leaders and what questions to ask of leaders. But asking questions is integrally related to being a good leader and how much influence you will have. And I think most people want to, quote, influence you or me. Don't ask any questions, right? They really attempt to sell us or pitch us on whatever their deal is. And they miss, guess what? Going back to number one, rapport. Okay. That's why it starts out with rapport. I think that's critical. So don't do that. Okay. Asking the right questions helps you and me to get the right answers, and it promotes open communication. Again, really important, right? We kind of said this already. Ask amazing, great questions is a skill like any other skill, and it takes practice, but your skills will improve over time, if you work on them. And again, you want to get good answers. They come from asking good questions. And this is a point I want to get into. It's kind of just a personal annoyance I find, is that people pitching others, myself, when they want to make a connection, I'll say more so on LinkedIn even than Facebook, but on social media, they all of a sudden, you can tell, I call them, they take you down the primrose path of prospecting. They ask you kind of like, how are you doing? Yeah, where do you live? And then you can tell they're going down their path there, and they want me to get into their deal. They want me to invest money with them or get in their investment deal or their business deal, but they never stop to ask questions about what are my goals? What am I looking for? Am I looking for a different deal? Am I looking for a business? Am I looking for an opportunity? And I say, and guys, hear me, because this is where wisdom comes in, is if you don't take time to find out what I'm really interested in, or I don't take time to find out what you're interested in, or what your goals are or anything, I don't care what it is you're pitching, right? That I will not do business with somebody that doesn't do that. Why would I? It's like I'm just manipulating you, and I think I am, to get you to get in my deal or spend money with me. But if I don't know what you're really looking for, guys, again, game over. So this is so important, guys. Don't be like that on social media. Take time to really get to know people, or don't bother trying to connect with them. Okay. Remember, the art of influencing doesn't come naturally. It is a learned skill. I say one of the better books, I think, still a great classic, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read it, I recommend that you take the time to do so. Fourth is, and you can see me, be aware of body language, right? It can tell others a lot about you, your facial expressions, etc. There's a technique called mirroring the other person's body language to create better rapport. And that's not done as a manipulative thing. It's just, if somebody's got their arms crossed, you may want to cross yours. If they got their arms open, they're more relaxed. Kind of just mirror it, but that kind of tells them you're seeing what they're doing, right? But body language is something critical, and you don't want to overlook it. So also changing your body language can change the way in which others perceive you, and even in the way in which you perceive yourself. So it's critical, guys. So watch your body language. Okay, if you want to influence people, when one of the big things on here too, that I don't want to pass up talking about is when you're greeting somebody. I can't tell you how many times this has helped me. When I'm looking, I'm shaking their hand, I got somebody looking the other way, guys. That tells me you're not really tuned in. You really don't care. You're just kind of going through the drill. And again, don't bother. Be sincere. But guys, when you're shaking somebody's hand, firm handshake, look them in the eye. Don't be turning the other way. Again, your body language is saying something there. And if people are paying attention like I am, it's not a good one. Fifth, this sounds a little bit manipulative, so I'm going to explain this. I pulled these ideas from another list, but fifth is sell the benefits. Okay. And let me explain this. Sell the benefits of your argument to the other person, and you want to try to get them to see you want to see your position from their perspective. Again, that requires what? Empathy. So you got to listen, you got to empathize, and you got to ask questions, right? So that's not manipulative. Don't get into this high pressure sales schlock, right? Again, you're all about whatever you want to get, what you want to get out of it. You don't. So again, if you're going to sell the benefits, you're going to have to, again, listen, empathize, and ask questions. This is something I did. I was successful in outside sales, custom manufacturer I work for. And that's some of the biggest skills I put in play, or I learned, is to listen, ask questions, find out, make sure what they're looking for is why they have me there. Maybe what they're looking for isn't exactly what they need, but you get that by asking questions and empathize and listen. That takes all the pressure off of you and them, because I'm not here to sell you unless there's a match. So get away from the high pressure sales schlock. Gary Vaynerchuk puts it this way, don't sell, build your brand, guys. I think you have to do more work. It's a longer game, but again, people like me that have been around in the business world and on social media, if I can sniff out, if you're trying to give me some high pressure sales schlock, I will cut you off. I will delete you. I will unfollow you. And again, you've lost your influence. You've wasted your time and my time. Okay. Number 6 is just be relaxed. Okay. And be authentic. I think a relaxed and natural demeanor is more likely to achieve a more successful result than an emotional or demanding approach where you're trying to be overly charismatic, maybe. That works to a point, but you got to be you, right? And tip, I'd say don't come across salesy again, especially on social media. But being authentic means that you act in ways that show your true self and how you feel. And bottom line, just guys, be genuine, right? You demonstrate a natural confidence that will help persuade others, hopefully, that your ideas are good. And again, with that, don't be fake. Be authentic, be a genuine, and don't be fake. 7th is invest your time, right? And it takes time to learn this skill. Influencing is not a quick fix. It can take time to develop empathy and awareness and all these other skills, but you're more likely to get what you want if you play a long game, right? Too many people are just in the short deal. That's called the old school. And again, this ties so much into sales, guys. If I just make a connection, say, hey, how you doing? Hey, you want to buy this stuff? Again, you have not built rapport and you're just bypassing everything else. And I say this to say that the art of influencing doesn't come naturally to everyone. Some people have it better and more, but again, I believe it's more of a learned skill, just like leadership is really a learned skill. No, I don't think anybody's born a true leader. It's something you have to work on and develop as a skill. But there's many sources of help to help you develop your influencing skills, right? There are online resources, books, great YouTube videos. You can watch John Maxwell, Gary Vaynerchuk, a lot of other people that are leaders, Tom Bilyeu, Ed Milet, and especially even on social media, there's LinkedIn groups. And of course, training is always an option for you to help hone and develop your influencing skills, right? And again, hint here is leaders are readers. So I really recommend you lead. Again, How to Win Friends and Influence People would be a great start. So leadership is the ability to influence others in a positive sense. And an effective leader influences followers into action, not with coercion, like I mentioned, manipulation, but by gaining their desire and conviction in the vision and goals that are spoken by them as a leader. And this starts with building rapport first. Misused influence, guys, I promise you can bring about negative and even catastrophic results if you really want to gain influence. If you do that, like with me, I just delete you, unfollow you, etc. You've wasted your time and mine too. Don't do that. So develop your influence by practicing these 7 simple skills to be a true influencer. Guys, I would love to hear your feedback on how you're influencing others. Was this message helpful? Did it give you some tips, some things to think about? I hope it did. Let me know. Thanks again for tuning in today, guys. Hope you had a safe and wonderful 4th of July weekend. Have an awesome Monday today. Bye-bye.